welcome back to Crimson Glass on YouTube, and this is part 2 of writing Broken Girl. First step, reread. Second step, whatever's next. So it took me about 3 days to reread Broken Girl. I thought it would take only 2, but I got a little tired, and I only did about 10 chapters in each sitting, which is totally fine. I marked up any typos I found. I looked over any inconsistencies because I'm going to be cleaning them up just for Crimson Glass and the ebook, because I'm going to be reformatting the ebook this winter at some point in January. And I also wanted to look up anything that I thought would help me in working out the next step. Were there any beats of dialogue I wanted to echo? Were there any characters that I wanted to make sure that were there in the next step? What was my sense of how characters were hanging together? Was there anything I thought I needed to, like, were there character and conversations that needed to be cleaned up because maybe I was just slightly inconsistent? So it was just anything I needed to make sure that I finished up in the next book, which is, it's only going to be 2 books in the series. We're not looking at a trilogy, thank God. And, excuse me, Sasha's going to walk past because she's mad that we're not done with the computer yet today. That's fair. So actually, after that, I move into my next step. So the way my discovery process goes is I start with brainstorming. And brainstorming for me when I'm writing the second book, a book in an ongoing series, is to stop and take a look and reread what I had already written. And then making notes from there. Now, for Broken Girl, I kind of already had an idea of what I wanted in book 2 in some senses. So I had some notes going into this. I made notes at the end of the original revision process back in May or June. What is in book 2 was my original vision for the story in some ways. Just some of the actions that happened, particularly in Act 2, was originally what I had wanted in Broken Girl. So I kind of had an idea of where I was going when I started. So that was a really good place to start from. So actually, before I even finished rereading the story last night, which was Saturday, December 26th, I looked over those notes and I finished them up. I finished brainstorming. I thought about the subplots I wanted based on what I knew I'd already read, and I was more familiar with the ending of Broken Girl, the last 10 chapters, than I was with the first 20, because I just spent so much time editing it. So like the more recent stuff I'd written, I remembered it better than I remembered the earlier stuff. And then I went and started my anchor scenes. So my anchor scenes, what are anchor scenes? I am a follower of How Story Works at Chipperish Media, so you probably heard me talk about it. I talked about this at length when I did my Fool Me Twice vlog, but if you haven't watched those videos in a while, or you never sat through that particular story because it's not your, cup of tea, it's fine. Anchor scenes are the big moments, the big stuff that's happening. They are the stuff that happens in your central narrative conflict, which is, your story, that pushes it forward and keeps the pacing. So they should happen at certain points in the manuscript so that the pacing feels good. So you're not feeling things are dragging. So I write in 3 acts. Act 1 is my setup. Act 2 is like the expansion. And Act 3 is, we finish the story. In Act 1, you have your inciting incident, which kicks off the central narrative conflict. And then at the end of Act 1, the turn to Act 2 is a turning point. It's the acceptance of trouble, which is where your protagonist chooses to engage with the conflict. And then in the middle of Act 2, you have your midpoint. The protagonist's view of the conflict changes. And then at the end of Act 2 into Act 3, you have your point of no return, or no way but through. Your protagonist is making a choice that they cannot take back, that after this moment, you can't, it's a point of no return. Then you have your dark moment where everything seems lost. Climax, where the winner of the resolution, the climax is when the winner of the central narrative conflict is decided. And then the resolution is showing how the world has changed. So what is the meaning of your story? So I actually sat down and I figured out the individual scenes for each one of those moments. And then I figured out which subplot goes to which act. So each act is going to have its own individual subplot that forms kind of like the loose structure of that act, because it's a soap opera, so things always have to be happening in the background. That is kind of the big kind of 2 big things I did this week. Is I reread for the Broken Girl book 1, and then I figured out I did all the brainstorming I needed, where I sat down and I wrote like the big stuff, like I wrote down what I wanted to happen, and I took that list and I made it into my anchor scene. So I did all that last night. This morning, I spent about, an hour working on the next step. So my next step is to take my 7 anchor scenes and link them together and form the connective tissue. So basically to what gets me from my inciting incident to my acceptance of trouble, what gets me from acceptance of trouble to midpoint. So like what leads to each of those moments. And then to kind of flesh out the subplots a little bit more. Why are the subplots happening at this point in the story? Where do I want those subplots to go? How do I want them to parallel what's happening in the story at the moment? So that's what I worked on today. I finished Act 1, and then after chapter breakdown, we move into soundtracking. And this is, if you feel like I'm going pretty fast, because I only started, I only really started the discovery process like last night, which is sitting down and figuring out book 2, because up until now I'd only been reading book 1. You'd be right that it's going fast, and I am not mad about that at all. One, it just gives me more time and space. So like, if I got sick the first week of school and I couldn't work, I only have soundtracking really to go. If I finish soundtracking early, I can do other things, and other things includes working more on edit. I can work more on edits for Fool Me Twice, which I want to get into in another moment. But I can also start writing Mad World Book 4, because the plan is also to have Mad World Book 4 broken down by the end of the year. So December 31st, I think I'll have both of these books chapter broken down. And I'm not going to start For the Broken Girl earlier than February. February is because I'm just not. It's not the way the schedule's set up, and it's very important to me that I let the discovery process sit and then come back to it on February 1st so that I can try out this February to March 30th and like really get into the swing of things there. All of that is absolutely great news. I'm excited, and if I can write some of Mad World Book 4 in January, I can write it in the background, which means I can reset my production schedule. At the moment, I am not going to officially reset this production schedule. We'll get into it in another Mad World video. But those are all good things. And one of the reasons why Discovery is moving faster this time is because this is I'd say it's probably my 4th time going through like an official discovery process where I have these stages outlined. But it's actually probably the 2nd time where I feel like I really understand it. I did it for Fool Me Twice last year, the original time I was going through it. And I rushed it. I didn't finish it. And then for Mad World, I rushed it and I didn't finish it. And then for Fool Me Twice, book 1, the one you guys are going to read in February, I did not rush it. I did every single step. I thought it through. I took my time with it. And it showed up because I learned a lot. This is all really good stuff. I'm very excited to kind of get into this. I can't wait to finish the discovery process for Broken Girl and then go into alpha drafting, because I'll be back at work, because I'm on holiday break right now, and I'll be back at work trying to write at the same time, like exactly how I was at Fool Me Twice. And I'm hoping that everything I learned about Fool Me Twice, I can take it into Broken Girl, and I will finish on schedule for that. And I actually do anticipate being able to write this in 2 months, because there were things that happened in November that I just don't think are going to happen in February and or March. All right, so that is part 2 of writing Broken Girl. I will check in with you guys next week. You are seeing this on December 31st on a Thursday. Right, that's Thursday. Yeah. So it's New Year's Eve for you guys. So if you're watching this, go. I guess turn this off and go watch the ball drop. I guess, I don't know. Are you staying home? I don't know. Have a great holiday. Have a happy New Year, and I will see you guys in the next one. Bye.